How's it going? My name is Jumpy. Today I'm reviewing the 1988 movie Scrooged. I know it's not Christmas when I'm uploading this, but I watched this a few days before Christmas last year. This isn't anywhere close to being the slowest turnaround I've had for a video. I watched a few other holiday movies last year as well that I want to briefly talk about. I finally got around to seeing Thanksgiving directed by Eli Roth. I saw Grindhouse in a theater back in 2007. It's made up of two movies, Robert Rodriguez's Planet Terror and Quentin Tarantino's Death Proof, with some fake trailers. Eli Roth did a trailer for Thanksgiving, and I really enjoyed it, so I was excited when I found out he was finally turning it into a real movie. And it's so good. Almost all of the characters are loud and obnoxious, but no one ever really got on my nerves, and it's very, very funny. It's so silly and unrealistic, but there's some good satire, and it fully commits to the bit of being a Thanksgiving-themed slasher in every way. This really worked for me, and I highly recommend it. I haven't seen every Eli Roth movie, and let's face it, I probably never will. But this one is my favorite that I've seen over Cabin Fever, Hostel 1 and 2, and Knock Knock. And I like all of those to varying degrees for various reasons. A couple of days after I watched Thanksgiving, I watched Black Friday from 2021. It takes place in a toy store and people get turned into what's essentially zombies and start attacking. It's got some fun gore and effects. The characters weren't amazing, but I liked them just fine, and some of their interactions were better than I was expecting. It's not nearly as good as Thanksgiving, but I had fun watching it. In December, I planned to do a double feature of Christmas movies I've seen before. But it also ended up being a surprise Catherine O'Hara double feature. It had been a very long time since I'd seen The Nightmare Before Christmas, and it's great. O'Hara voices Sally. My favorite part was when Jack is trying to figure out Christmas with science. The other movie is Home Alone, which I last saw much more recently than Nightmare. O'Hara plays Kevin's mom. My favorite scene is when Kevin messes with and scares the pizza delivery boy. But you've probably already seen both of those movies, so let's move on to a slightly less popular and beloved Christmas movie that you've also possibly seen already, Scrooged. I'm not sure if I saw this when I was a kid, but I distinctly remember the cover. I did see it a few years ago, and I enjoyed it enough then to revisit it now. The movie was directed by Richard Donner between Lethal Weapon 1 and Lethal Weapon 2. And the opening scene definitely feels like it came from an action movie director. The North Pole is attacked, and Santa and his people have a lot of machine guns. It's pretty amusing. It turns out that this is an ad for a Christmas program. We then meet Frank Cross, the asshole TV network president, played by Bill Murray. The people who work for him show him another ad for an upcoming live show called Scrooge, based on the Charles Dickens story. The commercial has been airing for a month. Frank hates it and shows them his own ridiculous alternative that has nothing to do with the story and shows scenes of violence in it to scare people into watching it. One of the people named Elliot, played by Bobcat Goldthwait, questions Frank's decision, and Frank immediately fires the man. He's also incredibly inconsiderate to his assistant Grace, rude to his brother James, and he even steals a woman's cab. Frank gets an award and goes back to his office where he's visited by the corpse of his former boss, Lou Hayward, who's been dead for 7 years. I love the gags with the corpse here. A golf ball and mouse come out of his head, he drinks booze and it sprays out of holes in his chest, and his arm breaks off. He tells Frank that he'll be visited by 3 ghosts: Christmas past, Christmas present, and Christmas future. Hey, that's just like the show his network is putting on. If you haven't seen the movie, you've probably read or have seen some iteration of the Dickens story, so it's obvious where the movie is going to end up. First and foremost, Scrooged is very funny. There's a lot of destruction, mayhem, and slapstick. It can be very absurd. One scene early on that I like is Robert Mitchum as Frank's boss Preston, telling Frank to start appealing to cats and dogs in his programming because they're a viable market of customers. And there's Frank hallucinating during lunch at a fancy restaurant with foods I've never had. They have baked Alaska, so I bet they also serve a mean creme brulee there. Bill Murray is great as an exaggerated jerk who's still likable. He totally sells the jokes, both in line delivery and physically. Not too many jokes fall completely flat. I smiled a lot and laughed out loud pretty hard a few times. I need to mention Claire, who is a woman that Frank hasn't seen in 15 years. She's played by Karen Allen, and they have some sweet moments together. There are other fun cameos and recognizable faces, like Anne Ramsey, Mary Ellen Trainor, Roy Brocksmith, and Robert Goulet. I always wondered if Robert Goulet ever went to a restaurant and ordered a creme brulee, and then was really disappointed with what they brought out to him because it's just the standard dish with no changes. The movie's already been exaggerated before that, but the ending gets really ridiculous. I think it works if you don't try to pick it apart. As far as movies where Bill Murray is a jerk, travels through time, and then becomes a better person go, I personally prefer Scrooged over Groundhog Day. But I still like Groundhog Day a lot as well. I'm giving Scrooged an 8 out of 10, and it's among my favorite Christmas movies. It's a silly take on a familiar story that I thought was pretty funny and charming. Thank you so much for watching.